Start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number. Analysis. Many human and non-human animals save commodities or money for future consumption. This behavior seems to reveal a preference of a delayed reward over an immediate one. The agent gives up some immediate pleasure in exchange for a future one. Thus the discounted value of the future reward should be greater than the undiscounted value of the present one. However, in some cases the agent does not wait for the envisioned occasion but uses their savings prematurely. For example, early in the year an employee might set aside money to buy Christmas presents but then spend it on a summer vacation instead. Such cases could be examples of weakness of will. That is, the agents may judge or resolve to spend their savings in a certain way for the greatest benefit but then act differently when temptation for immediate pleasure appears. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 01. An excellent alternative to calming traffic is removing it. Some cities reserve an extensive network of lanes and streets for bikes, pedestrians, and the occasional service vehicle. This motivates people to travel by bike rather than by car, making streets safer for everyone. As bicycles become more popular in a city, planners can convert more automobile lanes and entire streets to accommodate more of them. Nevertheless, even the most bikeable cities still require motor vehicle lanes for taxis, emergency vehicles, and delivery trucks. Delivery vehicles are frequently a target of animus, but they are actually an essential component to making cities greener. A tightly packed delivery truck is a far more efficient transporter of goods than several hybrids carrying a few shopping bags each. Distributing food and other goods to neighborhood vendors allows them to operate smaller stores close to homes so that residents can walk, rather than drive, to get their groceries. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 02. The rate of speed at which one is traveling will greatly determine the ability to process detail in the environment. In evolutionary terms, human senses are adapted to the speed at which humans move through space under their own power while walking. Our ability to distinguish detail in the environment is therefore ideally suited to movement at speeds of perhaps 5 miles per hour and under. 5. The fastest users of the street, motorists, therefore have a much more limited ability to process details along the street. A motorist simply has little time or ability to appreciate design details. On the other hand, pedestrian travel, being much slower, allows for the appreciation of environmental detail. Joggers and bicyclists fall somewhere in between these polar opposites. While they travel faster than pedestrians, their rate of speed is ordinarily much slower than that of the typical motorist. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 03. The term minimalism gives a negative impression to some people who think that it is all about sacrificing valuable possessions. This insecurity naturally stems from their attachment to their possessions. It is difficult to distance oneself from something that has been around for quite some time. Being an emotional animal, human beings give meaning to the things around them. So, the question arising here is that if minimalism will hurt one's emotions, why become a minimalist? The answer is very simple. The assumption of the question is fundamentally wrong. Minimalism does not hurt emotions. You might feel a bit sad while getting rid of a useless item, but sooner than later, this feeling will be overcome by the joy of clarity. Minimalists never argue that you should leave every convenience of the modern era. They are of the view that you only need to eliminate stuff that is unused or not going to be used in the near future. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 04. While moving is difficult for everyone, it is particularly stressful for children. They lose their sense of security and may feel disoriented when their routine is disrupted and all that is familiar is taken away. Young children, ages 3 to 6, are particularly affected by a move. 3-6. Their understanding at this stage is quite literal, and it is difficult for them to imagine beforehand a new home and their new room. Young children may have worries such as, will I still be me in the new place? And will my toys and bed come with us? It is important to establish a balance between validating children's past experiences and focusing on helping them adjust to the new place. Children need to have opportunities to share their backgrounds in a way that respects their past as an important part of who they are. This contributes to building a sense of community, which is essential for all children, especially those in transition. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 05. Advertisers often displayed considerable facility in adapting their claims to the market status of the goods they promoted. Fleischmann's yeast, for instance, was used as an ingredient for cooking homemade bread. Fleischmann. Yet more and more people in the early 20th century were buying their bread from stores or bakeries, so consumer demand for yeast decreased. 20. The producer of Fleischmann's yeast hired the J. Walter Thompson advertising agency to come up with a different marketing strategy to boost sales. Fleischmann J. Walter Thompson. No longer the soul of bread, the Thompson agency first turned yeast into an important source of vitamins with significant health benefits. Thompson soul of bread. Shortly thereafter, the advertising agency transformed yeast into a natural laxative. Repositioning yeast helped increase sales. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 06. The major philosophical shift in the idea of selling came when industrial societies became more affluent, more competitive, and more geographically spread out during the 1940s and 1950s. 1940-1950. This forced business to develop closer relations with buyers and clients, which in turn made business realize that it was not enough to produce a quality product at a reasonable price. In fact, it was equally essential to deliver products that customers actually wanted. Henry Ford produced his best-selling T-model Ford in one color only, black, in 1908, but in modern societies this was no longer possible. 1908 Henry Ford T. Ford. The modernization of society led to a marketing revolution that destroyed the view that production would create its own demand. Customers, and the desire to meet their diverse and often complex needs, became the focus of business. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 07. Plant growth is controlled by a group of hormones called auxins found at the tips of stems and roots of plants. Auxins produced at the tips of stems tend to accumulate on the side of the stem that is in the shade. Accordingly, the auxins stimulate growth on the shaded side of the plant. Therefore, the shaded side grows faster than the side facing the sunlight. This phenomenon causes the stem to bend and appear to be growing towards the light. Auxins have the opposite effect on the roots of plants. Auxins in the tips of roots tend to limit growth. If a root is horizontal in the soil, the auxins will accumulate on the lower side and interfere with its development. Therefore, the lower side of the root will grow slower than the upper side. This will, in turn, cause the root to bend downwards, with the tip of the root growing in that direction. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12 Number 08. Do you sometimes feel like you don't love your life? Like, deep inside, something is missing? That's because we are living someone else's life. We allow other people to influence our choices. We are trying to meet their expectations. Social pressure is deceiving. We are all impacted without noticing it. Before we realize we are losing ownership of our lives, we end up envying how other people live. Then, we can only see the greener grass. Ours is never good enough. To regain that passion for the life you want, you must recover control of your choices. No one but yourself can choose how you live. But, how? The first step to getting rid of expectations is to treat yourself kindly. You can't truly love other people if you don't love yourself first. When we accept who we are, there's no room for others' expectations. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12, Number 09. Rejection is an everyday part of our lives, yet most people can't handle it well. For many, it's so painful that they'd rather not ask for something at all than ask and risk rejection. Yet, as the old saying goes, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Avoiding rejection negatively affects many aspects of your life. All of that happens only because you're not tough enough to handle it. For this reason, consider rejection therapy. Come up with a request or an activity that usually results in a rejection. Working in sales is one such example. Asking for discounts at the stores will also work. By deliberately getting yourself rejected, you'll grow a thicker skin that will allow you to take on much more in life, thus making you more successful at dealing with unfavorable circumstances. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12, Number 10. For species approaching extinction, zoos can act as a last chance for survival. Recovery programs are established to coordinate the efforts of field conservationists and wildlife authorities. As populations of those species diminish, it is not unusual for zoos to start captive breeding programs. Captive breeding acts to protect against extinction. In some cases, captive bred individuals may be released back into the wild, supplementing wild populations. This is most successful in situations where individuals are at greatest threat during a particular life stage. For example, turtle eggs may be removed from high-risk locations until after they hatch. This may increase the number of turtles that survive to adulthood. Crocodile programs have also been successful in protecting eggs and hatchlings, releasing hatchlings once they are better equipped to protect themselves. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12, Number 11. Hunting can explain how humans developed reciprocal altruism and social exchange. Humans seem to be unique among primates in showing extensive reciprocal relationships that can last years, decades, or a lifetime. Meat from a large game animal comes in quantities that exceed what a single hunter and his immediate family could possibly consume. Furthermore, hunting success is highly variable. A hunter who is successful one week might fail the next. These conditions encourage food sharing from hunting. The costs to a hunter of giving away meat he cannot eat immediately are low because he cannot consume all the meat himself and leftovers will soon spoil. The benefits can be large, however, when those who are given his food return the generous favor later on when he has failed to get food for himself. In essence, hunters can store extra meat in the bodies of their friends and neighbors. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC 1, 2025, Unit 12, Number 12. Detailed study over the past 2 or 3 decades is showing that the complex forms of natural systems are essential to their functioning. 2030. The attempt to straighten rivers and give them regular cross-sections is perhaps the most disastrous example of this form and function relationship. The natural river has a very irregular form, it curves a lot, spills across floodplains, and leaks into wetlands, giving it an ever-changing and incredibly complex shoreline. This allows the river to accommodate variations in water level and speed. Pushing the river into tidy geometry destroys functional capacity and results in disasters like the Mississippi floods of 1927 and 1993 and, more recently, the unnatural disaster of Hurricane Katrina. 1927-1993 Mississippi, Katrina. A $50 billion plan to let the river loose in Louisiana recognizes that the controlled Mississippi is washing away 24 square miles of that state annually. Louisiana. Let the river loose, 500 Mississippi 24. MTC. Good job.